Welcome, everyone, to the L7C Podcast College Football Edition. Today, we're going to be reviewing OSU's game against Michigan State, previewing maybe the biggest week of the year in college football so far. There's a lot of top 10, 15, 25 games that are going to have major playoff implications going forward. So we're going to be mostly talking about other teams besides OSU because we are on a bye week this week. So we got the captain with us, Mr. Byron Mitchell. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing good. As always, a great Tuesday when we talk about some Buckeye football, especially after a win, going to a bye week.
Yeah, can't ask for anything much better than that.
True.
So, Byron, this was our first road game. We were at Michigan State Spartans, and we went in there, and it was another blitzing of a team, man. Byron, tell us what happened.
49-20. So this actually time we actually did cover the spread because the spread was like 26.5, 27. We went by 29. So good job, Buckeyes. CJ Stroud had an amazing game last week, but he was quiet. This week he decided that, you know what, I want to assert my dominance. So he went 21 for 26, 361 yards, 6 touchdowns. He did have an interception. I don't know if it was miscommunication or he was trying to force a pass. But from what the announcer was saying, it looked like it was miscommunication between him and Abuka. Abuka was going one way. The pass went to Michigan State defender. They had a pick six. So it was like first pick six of the season, but I think it's like his third or fourth interception of the season. So hopefully he can get that together before we go into our big games against like Penn State and Michigan. Travion Henderson, he had a good game coming back from being out last week. 19 carries, 118 yards, and a touchdown. Mayan Williams didn't play. I think he's nursing an injury. Dallin Hayden had 14 carries for 70 yards. We had a pretty decent rushing game. Overall, 237 yards and a lone touchdown by Travion Henderson. Again, Emeka Buka, 5 receptions, 143 yards, touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr., again, superstar athlete at Ohio State, 7 receptions, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. Julian Fleming had 4 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. And then our backup tight end, G. Scott, had 1 reception, 2 yards, and a touchdown. So multiple Buckeyes were able to get touchdowns this week. Kyle McCord did play for a little bit, 2 out of 2 for 16. He did have a fumble. But on the defensive side, Lathan Ransom did have an interception in the end zone. So overall, good day by the Buckeyes.
I know last time we talked about CJ last game because Mayon had the 5 touchdowns and CJ really wasn't in the air. Obviously, we talked about in the preview how Michigan State's pass defense was terrible. CJ really delivered, man. Again, like you said, a lot of touchdowns through the air.
Yeah. 6 touchdowns. Looked amazing. And Marvin Harrison Jr. had that. His third catch was like an amazing acrobatic catch where he just like clearly stretched out and caught the ball and it was a touchdown. I'm like, okay, I've seen it. I've seen him do everything.
Like that was his. How many touchdowns did he have again?
He had 3 on the day.
So another multiple 3 touchdown day.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous. You know, it's kind of crazy to think like going to East Lansing and playing Michigan State and just beating them by 29 points, where this team is not the Michigan State of old. Like right now, they're 2-4, they're 0-3 in the conference. Just last year, it just shows how much recruiting is so much important in college football. Because just last year, Michigan State was 11-2. Like Michigan State was in playoff contention because they lost 2 games. They got upset at Purdue, which
Purdue loves to play spoiler.
Purdue is going to ruin someone's season in the Big Ten. It's what they do.
Yes.
And then they got killed by us when they came to Columbus. They lost 56-7. But after that, they beat Penn State, and then the Chick-fil-A Bowl, they beat number 12 at that time, Pittsburgh. Like they only lost 2 games last year. Hence why Tucker got the $95 million thing, because it's like no one was expecting them to do anything. And then they only lost 2 games, was a top 12 team. And then, of course, they had one of the best players in the league, Kenneth Walker,
who I can't escape because he plays for the Seahawks and had like a 69-yard touchdown against the Saints.
So you had him, you had Reed, like you had Thorne. Once these people leave, that just shows how important recruitment is, because they didn't have a good recruiting class, and you go from 11-2 to now 0-4 in the Big Ten, 0-3 in the Big Ten, and 2-4 overall.
Yeah, that is wild. Like you said, Kenneth Walker, their top rusher, he's probably almost won the Heisman because of how great he was as a rusher. To lose him put a big dent. Like overall, the team had 7 rushing yards against Ohio State, which is a huge difference from last year to now. While Peyton Thorne is still there, he did have a very quiet game, 11 for 18, 113 yards, a touchdown, and an interception.
But he's not good if you don't have like good parts around him.
Yeah,
like
true.
When he had a Kenneth Walker, you put 8 people in the box, it leaves all your wide receivers single coverage, so you can actually hit some easy throws. But that's why we keep saying recruitment's important. And obviously, not every 5-star is going to be the next big thing. That is just not how it works. But at least getting them, those 5, 4, 3 stars consistently, while your other schools in your conference are struggling to get 3 stars, shows a difference. And it also shows how we help our players get better, like our systems down here, our coaches and all of that, because true, Michigan State's not a small school. They're getting 3, 4 stars, an occasional 5-star, but how are you developing them?
Right.
That's the difference between Ohio State and all the other teams in the Big Ten, is that we're getting top talent and we're trying to develop them to be even better. But Michigan State, it's just crazy because Michigan State has provided OSU plenty of heartbreak in the past 10 years. They've stopped Ohio State from going to the national championships twice.
Yep. One in that Big Ten championship game.
Yep.
Which is very heartbreaking. I still remember that to this day.
And then the game right after we won the title, 2015, they beat us in Columbus. So they've provided heartache, and just to go in there and stomp them, it feels weird because that's not the Michigan State I'm used to seeing. So hopefully they can get it together.
Yeah, hopefully next year's game, which will be be here, will have be closer and
all
more
depends on recruits and development.
Yeah.
Well, Byron, we're actually on a bye week, but we do know that we play Iowa on the 22nd. That will be a noon game on Big Noon Kickoff.
Yep, first Big Noon Kickoff. Been dominated by Michigan the past month, so it'd be good to have a Big Noon Kickoff on Fox.
Yeah, and then also, we have not played Iowa since that fateful game in Iowa. So we have not played them in years. We'll preview that next week. But it's been a long time since we do not play them often. But the last time we played Iowa, it was bad. Obviously, they had some top NFL defensive players on that team. But I'm expecting OSU to do some stuff. But we'll get to that next week when we do that. Just going, Byron, there was a lot of big games that happened over this weekend that we were going to. We talked about, let's just start we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. The game that was supposed to be super good, Alabama, Texas A&M. I was on here last week and I said Alabama was going to win by 35, regardless of who quarterback is.
You did?
And Texas A&M, they fought. It came down to the last possession.
Yep. And they Alabama ended up winning 24-20.
So, what does that say? Obviously, this is the second close game that Alabama's had this year so far. So against Texas and apparently the Texas teams. Obviously, Bryce Young did not play. There was a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions. They were just giving Texas A&M the chance to capitalize. They just couldn't do it because that's who Texas A&M is. So then they take that L. It also affected Alabama because the committee, the AP voters were like, you know what, Alabama, we got to put you down to we got to put you down to 3. We can't have
Mm-hmm.
you number 1 after barely beating Texas A&M. But that was interesting because I didn't think it'd be close. I really didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either. I agree with you that it would probably be 30 plus.
The way they were playing, it just didn't seem right. But hey, Alabama night 8 p.m. They came up on top 24-20. So they're still undefeated. You go to another SEC game. We're going to be previewing this. Tennessee destroying LSU 40-13. That game was not close at all throughout the game.
No, it was not. Tennessee came out on firing on all cylinders. They looked good throughout the game. Hendon Hooker is a really good quarterback.
Mhm.
I can't wait to see what they do for the rest of the season because I did not expect Tennessee at the beginning of the season. Where Tennessee was not on my radar of
Nope.
a team that's going to be like they're 5-0 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they just had a bye week. Yep, 5-0. That which is crazy to think about for Tennessee.
You also shout out to our guy Cedric. UCLA beating Utah 42-32. I did not expect that. UCLA, I mean, they just they can't get people in that stadium, but they won. They're undefeated. Chip Kelly still coaching there. Is looking like Chip has finally got his guys in there. He's finally running the system that when I said he never, a long time ago before all of us even met on the L7C, he never should have left Oregon because that guy was killing it at Oregon. Like he wanted to go test the NFL, but he never should have left. But it's looking like he's getting his stuff going now, which is good for college football.
Yeah, it's good for him. Great confidence booster. Be undefeated at UCLA. Hopefully now they'll be able to get some fans into the stands because they got some big games coming up for the next couple of weeks.
Yes, they do. And then before we go to the main event, going to the Big 12, Red River rivalry, most lopsided Red River rivalry I've seen in my life. Texas 49, Oklahoma 0.
Texas finally decided they wanted to play defense because, man, I was not expecting them to blank Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma, like it would be a back and forth game like the TCU Kansas game was, but nope.
Mm-hmm.
Texas decided they wanted to play defense. Quinn Ewers came back. He had 289 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. So he came back with a vengeance. Bijan Robinson, their running back, who's been there for like a couple years, a very fantastic running back. 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, Texas came out and said, we got something to prove. We all said they needed to win.
They needed to win in Oklahoma, man. You go from being in the top 6 and now you're not even scoring in a matter of weeks.
Right.
Like if you just look at, let's see if I can get it. The Sooners now are 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously last week they got shellacked.
Yeah. By TCU, 55-24. They've actually lost their last 3 games. They've won against UTEP, Kent, and Nebraska. And then Kansas State University, TCU, and Texas just came in and said, we're winning this game.
Yeah. So they are on a very bad downward spiral as a first-year head coach. That is not something you want to be in that type of fan base. Like they couldn't get anything.
Yeah, and they have a game against Kansas this weekend. So I don't think they're winning this weekend either.
Maybe their chance to bounce back. Then you go to Kansas, like you brought them up. They were the main event of the weekend. College Game Day going to Lawrence for the first time in history. Kansas 19, TCU 17. TCU, it literally came down to the last plays. They were trading back and forth, shots for shots. And TCU comes out on top 38-31. I wanted Kansas to win just because they were at home and game day was there for the first time. But TCU, man, we haven't seen them be good since early era college football playoffs.
Yep, 2014 when it was literally a decision between us and TCU who's going in the playoffs.
And Baylor. Baylor was in that stuff too.
Yep, Baylor too.
Yeah, they have not. It's Gary Patterson, like when he was there. But now they got a good team, man. And shout out to Kansas. That was a great game.
Mm-hmm. I definitely was switching between this and the Red River rivalry, but I ended up stopped watching the Red River Rivalry because Texas was just spanking Oklahoma, and this game was way more interesting. Like you said, very back and forth. Like TCU would get a touchdown and Kansas would score, then TCU would score. And it was just a great game. I do want to shout out one person.
Oh, go ahead.
Their wide receiver, Quentin Johnson for TCU, 14 receptions, 206 yards, and 1 touchdown. He was cutting through that defense.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. And you think that week was crazy. I've been saying this is the best time for OSU to be on a bye week because we're going to be greatly affected by a lot of these games that we're not even playing.
Yes.
Byron, where do you want to start?
Let's just start off that big noon game, Michigan Penn State, because that directly affects us.
Correct. So Michigan is playing Penn State. Penn State's the number 10 team in the country, undefeated. Michigan's the number 5 team in the country, undefeated. It's at 12 p.m., big noon kickoff on Fox. Both teams are in the Big Ten East. Obviously, if you watch the Buckeyes, you know we are in the Big Ten East. So these are teams that we are going to be playing. Obviously, Michigan at the end of the year and Penn State in a couple weeks at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
And Byron, one of these teams is going to lose.
Unfortunately, one of these teams is going to lose. And I'm still struggling, like, who I want to pick to win. Because this has so many implications on us. Like, Penn State being undefeated, going to them at the end of this month on October 29th. Whiteout looks very good. Undefeated Ohio State versus undefeated Penn State looks very good on paper. But me personally, for a revenge game, I would just love for us to be Michigan's lone loss of the season.
Byron, I want to throw some trivia out for y'all and for those people that are really educate them. What division do you think has the most top 10 teams in it?
Like over like SEC?
No, divisions. So you got to break them down, like SEC West, SEC East.
So SEC West, then.
You're wrong. It is
really?
the Big Ten East.
Wow.
People aren't hip, and I'm here to educate. Ohio State's the number 2 team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan's the number 5 team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State's the number 10 team in the country. That is 3 teams in the top 10 in the Big Ten East.
Wow.
You go to the SEC West, number 3 Alabama, number 9 Ole Miss, number 16 Mississippi State. That's it.
Wow.
All their other LSU trash, Auburn trash, Texas A&M trash, Arkansas trash. And then if you think about what about the SEC East? Number 1 Georgia, number 6 Tennessee, number 22 Kentucky Wildcats. So they have ranked teams, but the Big Ten East is the only conference in America right now with 3 of the top 10.
Shout out to the Big Ten East.
So just for the people who automatically go SEC is the best, you might say overall as a conference, but right now the Big Ten East has 3 top 10 teams.
That's domination. I love it. Love to see that.
And I can't count Big 12 because they don't do, and they don't even have 3 top 10 teams. No one else does but us when you split them all up. So here's what this is at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So you know the maize and blue is gonna be rocking.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with this game when you were talking about who do you want, like struggling on who you want to like win more in all of that. Here's what I'm thinking. If Michigan, I just also want to get something up right now. Michigan is a -7 on the spread.
Yes.
But +7 for Penn State. Okay. My thing is, I would actually want Penn State to win this game. The reason being, this is going to be can't say until they play us. This will be the only game Michigan State Michigan loses to Penn State until they play us. Then we'll see.
I can see that.
Penn State has this thing where I've been watching them for years, last year especially. When they lose, when they're a top team, and if they don't recover, they just go on a 3-game losing streak. Every time. Remember last year, we were almost at the same spot last year where they lost the 9 overtime game to like Illinois.
Mm-hmm. It was like the week before they played us, right?
Yep. And ruined a top 10, top 5 matchup against us.
Now that you put it like that, I forgot about Penn State and their 3-game lose streak every time they lose.
They lose a big game and then they go on a spell. And then they'll somehow magically be 9-3, 10-something by the end of the year.
Yep.
So that's why I think Michigan can take this loss, because when we get into these other games, I think Michigan's going to be back in the top 6, 7 by the end of the year anyway.
Yeah, if they lose this game and win out, yeah.
And other people are going to lose in front of them. Penn State, though, if they win, they could be in the top 5. And then you have perfect scenarios, 8 p.m., Happy Valley, whiteout, a top 5 matchup. That's the biggest game of the year.
Yes. 2, potentially 2 versus 5.
But they haven't announced that time yet. I really think Fox is going to try and have that at 12. And I'm going to say this now: if we have to play Penn State when there's sun, I'm not going to be worried. It's only when it's dark.
Well, only when it's dark and it's a whiteout. The things happen.
So I would want Penn State to win this game and then Michigan just to win out the rest, and then they have one loss when they play us, because there'll still be everything left in play. Because if Penn State beats Michigan, we beat Penn State, Big Ten East still comes down to the last game.
Yeah, I like that scenario. All right, let's go Penn State.
But Michigan, I'm not saying Michigan can't win, though. They can win this game. They play really well. But this is going to be. Oh, Penn State played Auburn, but Auburn really wasn't that good. I was going to say this is going to be both teams' first real test.
Yeah, because Michigan haven't really played anybody. Like, they were close against Maryland for like the first half, and then they decided that they want to take over. Iowa, again, struggling a little bit, but this would be their first real test.
Yeah, Penn State going to Auburn was their biggest game, which they went to an SEC school and beat them handily in the early of the year. So I want Penn State to win, but I do think we're going to see, man. We're going to see if Michigan's still riding off that momentum. If they were at home, I'd take Penn State, but I think Michigan's going to win this one. I do.
I think it will come down to Michigan's rush game, because Blake Corum is a really good running back. Yes, for the season, he has 735 carries and 11 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think it will come down. If Penn State can stop their run game and just have them one-dimensional through the air, I think Penn State could do it.
Yeah, and Clifford and McCarthy almost have the same exact stats.
Yep. Clifford, 1,030 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. McCarthy, 1,152 yards, 9 touchdowns, and an interception.
Yeah. So we're going to see how that game is. I'm taking Michigan. I want Penn State to win, because I want that game on the 29th to be undefeated versus undefeateds.
Yeah, I think I think Michigan has a slightly better team, but we'll see. We'll see. I think Michigan will win too.
And then, we're going to keep jumping around. You got number 7 USC versus number 20 Utah. Utah just lost to UCLA. This is another top 25 matchup. I do think USC with their offense, Lincoln Riley and them, they are playing really well, but it's hard to judge them because they really haven't played anyone at all. So this is their first ranked opponent, but they're potentially building, if both stay true, at UCLA on the 19th of November. That's going to decide the Pac-12. But I don't think Utah can. They just took a shellacking from UCLA, and USC is better than UCLA at this moment. I think USC wins.
Yeah, I think USC wins. Like it'll be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think USC just like you said has a better team.
Only thing that's helping Utah at their place at night, probably going to be their biggest night game of the year. So you're going to have the environment. You're going to be juiced up for that. But besides that, I think Caleb Williams, USC is too much for him.
Yeah. After this game, like the next biggest game Utah has is against Oregon, but that's at Oregon.
Yeah. Utah, if they want any shot of getting back on the top of the Pac-12, they need to win this game, and I just don't think they will.
Me either.
But Byron, man, obviously Penn State and Michigan is big for playoff implications for both teams. USC, Utah's, it's mainly for USC's playoff implications is big for them. This one is big for both teams as well. Oklahoma State, the number 8 team in the country, versus TCU, the number 13th ranked team. TCU coming off an emotional win against Kansas. And now you follow that up with playing the number 8 team at 3:30. So just think about that, guys. You got Michigan, Penn State, 12 o'clock. And then you have number 8 versus number 13 at 3:30. There's another game at 3:30 that we're going to save for last. But these are two teams that are going to still be in the Big 12 when Oklahoma and Texas leave. And it's funny how they're Oklahoma and a Texas school, both doing really well. Whoever loses this, man, is going to be their playoff hopes are done. And whoever wins this, they keep winning. There's a chance.
Yes, this is another game where the teams are pretty evenly matched.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oklahoma State's quarterback has 1,394 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
TCU's quarterback 1,305 yards, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. Their running backs are like 100 yards of each other, with one having 6 touchdowns, one having 4 touchdowns. The receivers are pretty even. Like they both score 46.4 points a game. They allow 24.8 to 23.8 points per game. So this is going to be, man, I don't know who to pick.
I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I know they're on the TCU just went to Kansas in a hostile thing, but now they're going to get the home field, so that crowd's going to be juiced up. But for some things that I want to happen in these next couple weeks, I got to take Oklahoma State.
Gotta take Oklahoma State. I'm going to take TCU.
Okay. TCU wins this game, they'll be a top 10 team.
Yep, that last performance against Kansas really sold me, especially their that wide receiver Quentin Johnson with the 200 some yards just out of nowhere is insane.
Okay. No, I don't disagree with that. Before we keep going, we got a sneaky one. This is another 3:30. Your 3:30. I hope you guys have the back channels and all of that. You got NC State, North Carolina State, 15-1. We saw them play against a surprise team of the college football right now. 4-0 Syracuse, the number 18th ranked team in the country. This is big implications for the ACC because you got in the Atlantic Division, Clemson's 4-0. Then you got Syracuse, and you got Florida State, North Carolina State, Wake Forest. So that's the most competitive division in the ACC. The other side of the ACC is not great. None of the teams are ranked. All the ranked teams are on the Coastal. So if Syracuse wants to stay packed with Clemson, they got to win this game. And people, do not forget, these past couple of years, Syracuse have gotten Clemson.
Yes, the funny thing is, just looked at Syracuse's schedule. Guess who they play next week?
They play Clemson.
Oh,
okay. That's actually going to be at Clemson.
Yes, at Clemson.
Syracuse is not a good enough team to not look ahead. They are going to see that Clemson game and be like, oh, we're going to go in there undefeated. Oh, this is bad. I think North Carolina State's going to beat them because I think Syracuse doesn't have the right to look ahead, but I think they're going to look ahead and overlook North Carolina State, and they're going to lose.
I can see that happening. I feel like this might be a trap game for Syracuse. NC State has already played Clemson, So, I mean, let's see, what's their next biggest game after this? Probably Wake Forest, but that's in a couple weeks.
If Syracuse wins, game day might be there because that's going to be.
Yeah, because they'll go up in the rankings. They'll probably be like number 15-ish. 14, 15 against number 4 Clemson if Syracuse wins. Because, yeah, that does have definitely playoff implications for that ACC championship game. And Syracuse were to win these next 2 games. I'm going to go with the underdog Syracuse.
Okay. I hope you're right because that would be interesting because then there's going to be pressure for Syracuse to perform. Okay. Last big game where the tickets right now are as low, the lowest ticket, $339. That's the low. Compared to Iowa State, Texas, the lowest tickets they have are $2.
$2.
So you can, if you want to go there, but the tickets are as low as $339. That is the upper deck. But then you go more and you keep going up, and then you're in the thousands. You can get as high as $7,900.
Ooh.
The game we are talking about, another 3:30, CBS, Alabama, who escaped against A&M, number 3 in the country now, 6-0, against another upstart team, Tennessee, 5-0, number 6 in the country. This game is at Tennessee. This is the biggest Tennessee football game since Peyton Manning has been gone, because they have not been relevant to this extent, and this is the most relevant they are. Alabama, we know Alabama. Currently, we do not know if Bryce Young is going to play as of recording. Byron.
Yes.
Who do you have in this game? What are you expecting? This, when I talked about games affecting Ohio State, obviously Penn State and Michigan, this game affects Ohio State a lot as well.
What do I expect? First off, I expect this to be a great game. 2 top 10 teams going at each other again. Tennessee, like I said, has been a wonderful surprise to this college football season. Never expected them to go undefeated. Definitely didn't expect them to beat LSU because LSU has been good in the past couple of years. But they have just asserted their dominance over like the past 5 teams, like Ball State 59-10, Pitt when they were ranked 17, 34-27, Akron 63-6, Florida when they were ranked 20, 38-33, LSU when they were ranked 25, 40-13. So they've just
beat
been
three of their 5 wins are against top 25 teams.
Yes, so very, very, very good surprise. I think Tennessee might have this. Like, I know Alabama's defense is amazing. Like, they've only allowed like 12.5 points per game. While Tennessee's defense has allowed 17.8. But Tennessee has scored like 46.8 points per game, and Alabama's only scored like 44.3. Texas and Texas A&M have shown that you can beat Alabama. It's very possible. And I think Tennessee has the weapons to do it.
Yeah, with Hooker at quarterback, 10 touchdowns.
0. He hasn't thrown any interceptions.
No, not yet.
Through 5 games.
Here's my thing. If Alabama would have acted accordingly and destroyed Texas A&M, I agree with you. The problem is, as Saban loves when his team barely wins against people they should have beat, because that means he can really kill them in practice and really harp on them, as he coined rat poison, that you guys are not that good. You need to execute. Like, so he loves those things, which is why he's
greatest coach ever because they'll be like, oh, we just barely won? Oh, I can't wait because now our players know we are not that good. We need to execute every day or we can get got.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, College Game Day is going to be at this game. It's Bryce Young. I feel like they're going to hold that for a game time decision. Shoot, we're saying that now. They might announce it when the time we get off this thing. But this could change. It will change the landscape if they win. Because my thing is, I do not think Tennessee is going to survive their next 4 games.
No, because they have Alabama this week. Next week they have UTM.
Yeah, they'll beat them.
Then Kentucky after that, and then number 1 ranked Georgia, November 5th.
So, what I was saying in our fantasy football thing, in a way that this is the only way that you can knock Alabama and Georgia out of the playoffs. Unfortunately, Tennessee would have to lose this game. Bear with me. The reason being is I will sacrifice Tennessee losing this game for them to beat Georgia. The reason being for that is because Georgia and Tennessee are both in the SEC East. If Tennessee holds the tiebreaker against Georgia in the SEC East, Georgia can't go to the championship game, which means they're not going to the playoffs because they can't go to the championship game. They're not.
True.
Alabama's case, it really depends on how much faith you have in Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. They still have to play Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the number 9 team in the country, and they're going to Ole Miss.
That's true.
And then after Tennessee, they have Mississippi State. They're 16, depending on how you feel about them. And they got at LSU. LSU's nothing. So it depends on how much faith you have in Ole Miss. Let's say if Ole Miss beats Alabama, they run the table. They get into the SEC championship game from the West. That knocks both of them out. They're not going if they don't make the championship game. The thing is, this is college football, so all these teams are going to lose to someone who they're not supposed to, and this is all out the window, and Alabama and Georgia are going to get there anyway. But that's the way you'd lock both of them out. And also, for anyone who says that way, if we have an Ole Miss, Tennessee, SEC championship game, Oklahoma State's still like undefeated, about to win the Big 12, USC, or now, UCLA, if USC is undefeated, they win the Pac-12. If Clemson's undefeated and they win the ACC, and if Ohio State, Michigan, or Penn State wins the Big 10, there's zero chance Alabama and Georgia are in. Because you'll take all those, you'll take 3 of the SEC champs getting in no matter what, and then you'll make a choice between the 3 undefeated teams of their conference champions.
Man, I would love that if that happened.
But it's hard for that to happen because
everything has to go right.
Everything has to go completely right, which it won't. It won't.
Right.
But now it's one of those things like, well, Alabama survived their next 4 games at Tennessee, Mississippi State, LSU, at Ole Miss.
Definitely think they can beat LSU.
Because here's the thing. If they lose to Tennessee, they just have to win out in the SEC championship game with 1 loss. That's it. And then they could just... So if they have 1 loss and Georgia beats Tennessee, Georgia goes undefeated, Alabama beats Georgia. It's the same thing we've had the past couple of years. They're both getting in.
Yep.
Unless the other conference champions are undefeated. Then you have a whole conversation. Which the likelihood of that is very slim.
Because you can lose to somebody you're not supposed to lose.
But for this game, if Bryce Young doesn't play, there is no... Alabama's losing. I'm gonna they are losing if Bryce Young does not play this game. But these are the type of games where Saban reminds everyone why he's the GOAT. But it's time. It's time for the upset. Hooker wins this. He is vaulted into the top 3 of the Heisman. That is just how it's worked the past 10-something years. You beat Alabama, you're in the Heisman race. Hell, you win the Heisman almost.
Yeah, that's what Johnny Manziel did.
Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow beat Alabama. Like, it's just a whole bunch of people. You beat Alabama, you get in the Heisman. But I'm doing it. I'm taking Tennessee. They're a 7.5-point underdog. Tennessee wins this game, rocks the college football world. They're going to be ranked number 2 if they win this game.
They should be ranked number 1.
They won't.
I know they're not gonna put them above Georgia.
Oh, they'll put them above us because we're going to be on the couch
for sure.
But
Georgia
here's the thing too:
Vanderbilt this week.
Yeah, if Michigan wins, both of them are going up. Yeah. Alabama will not be in the top 4 if they lose this game, especially if Michigan wins.
Yeah, so hypothetically, it could be Georgia, Tennessee, probably Michigan, and then us.
Yeah, and then you have Clemson, undefeated.
Yeah.
And then USC.
Undefeated, potentially.
Yeah. I'm doing it. I'm taking Tennessee. I'm taking Rocky Top. It's time. Let's get
I'm taking Tennessee, too.
If Hooker, we both took him. That means Alabama's going to win by 30. But it's just the way it goes. It's all right.
Just the way it goes. But I have so much faith in Tennessee right now.
This is Hooker's Heisman moment right here, which for Buckeye people, we will only get 3 Heisman moment type games: Penn State, Michigan, Big Ten championship. But
Michigan State or Wisconsin when they're good.
Yeah, when they're good. But currently this year, if Hooker smokes them, I'm sorry. I love CJ, but he's going to be the front runner.
Yeah, for sure. You beat Alabama, you're definitely the front runner.
Yeah, you're the front runner. Heisman. Especially if you're the
And CJ Stroud will have to do something amazing the rest of the year too.
Oh yeah. I do want to say Caesars Sportsbook. Buckeyes are plus 200 to win the title. We're the new favorite. Alabama
over Georgia?
Alabama and Georgia are plus 220. This is the first time since November 2020 that a team other than Alabama or Georgia has been the consensus favorite in Vegas right now, the sportsbook.
Wow. Okay.
So, they're seeing it. Just for that,
State.
Clemson's 12-1 odds, USC 16-1, Michigan's 20-1, Tennessee is 40-1. So if you want to put some money on people now, you got to do it now.
Got to do it now.
Byron, anything else, man?
I'm trying to think if there's like any other big game that we missed. I think we're everything. I mean, Mississippi State and Kentucky.
Kentucky's free fall. We don't care about they're not good anymore. They're free fall.
We just got to hopefully Mississippi can win when they face Alabama. That's the only thing we have for that game.
Yeah, because just on Ohio State thing, we haven't, since the Notre Dame game, which was the only game we were ever down at half this year, and we only scored 21 points. Since then, we've been averaging 55.
Yep, but they refused to put us as number 1, but you know what? That's fine.
We'll see. All right, man. With that being said, this is the L7C podcast. A lot of big games happening this weekend. They're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, especially once we get into November, because the great Jim Tressel said November is for contenders. So this is going to be a weeding out month in October. So we're going to see. Also, sooner, end of October, close to November, the first college football playoff rankings are going to start coming out. That's where we're really going to see the situations that lie ahead. So that's why
I can't wait for those first rankings.
Hence why we record on Tuesdays, so we can break those to you live, because they did them Tuesdays at 8:30. So with that being said, this is the L7C podcast, Rocky Top. Let's do it. Shouldn't be shocking the world. You're the number 6 team in the country, and this is the biggest game in your stadium in forever. So get it done. If Bryce Young does not play, they should not beat Tennessee.
They should not, no.
This is the L7C podcast. Signing out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.